This is Stephen McDanile.
I mean, they went in, we looked around the place, no sign of a struggle, no sign that anyone had broken in, just nothing. I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. She was as nice a person as there is.
Was she moving soon? Did you know anything about her?
Yeah, she was going to be moving out today. Why would anyone do this? Maybe I could have helped.
Stephen McDanile is a name you will not soon forget after you learn how he cold-bloodedly murdered his neighbor, Lauren Giddings, and sprayed her body parts in not one, but 5 different trash cans. Other than her torso, her body parts were never found. Stephen McDanile was a normal student studying law in 2012. He committed a crime so shocking it set the media world alight. Out of the blue, he broke into Lauren's house and strangled her to death. But why? Lauren was an ex-classmate of Stephen. Excluding the fact that Stephen was hateful towards women on social media, we never get a chance to learn why he did it. Lauren was Stephen's neighbor, who he developed a romantic interest for. Unfortunately for Stephen, it was not reciprocated. Lauren rejected Stephen when he asked her out. Could this be a motive for what he did? We don't know. What we do know is, on June 26, 2012, Stephen broke into Lauren's apartment and strangled her to death. It was 4:30 in the morning. Lauren was asleep until she heard floorboards in the house creaking. Stephen had climbed into her bed and grabbed her by the throat. She fought Stephen to her very last breath, but couldn't make it to the end. As if this wasn't deranged enough, Stephen proceeded to do the most inhumane act. He used a hacksaw and chopped her up into small pieces, leaving her torso in the bathtub. He packaged the other chunks of her body and threw them all over in different trash bins. Stephen's interrogation was no interrogation you've ever seen before, and you might be thinking you'll not be surprised after you saw his hysterical behavior acting out the concerned and heartbroken friend/neighbor. And that's what we thought too, up until the point we watched Stephen break 2 of the detectives right before our eyes. Regardless of how many strategies the detectives tried or improvised, they couldn't get a word out of Stephen besides yes, no, or I don't know, and without a single change in his body language.
All right. I just got to ask you a few more questions. You came down earlier tonight, me and you talked, all right. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
That's just you are. What's wrong? You know I'm Detective Patterson, right?
Yes.
Do you remember, put your hands up here, you remember us talking earlier tonight, right?
Yes.
You remember me earlier in the day?
Yes.
When we came down here and talked a little bit and then we left?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll see that he was quite the character, up until the point where he took control of his own investigation and he led both of the detectives to a dead end. It's not often detectives are frustrated by criminals. However, let's take a closer look at his interview with a reporter before we fast forward to his interrogation.
We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
What kind of person was she? I mean, what did you see her?
I mean, she's as nice as can be. I mean, very personable, very much a people person.
Do you know anybody any enemies she might have had, somebody that might want to hurt her?
No, we just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's why we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
The first time Stephen builds eye contact is to correct a reporter. Sensitive or fragile, he seems to appear yet still a perfectionist. Psychopathy is positively correlated with perfectionism. Psychopaths are obsessed with committing and pre-planning the perfect murder. This feeds their ego. They want to be the talk. They're seeking glory. Then realize how the sides of his lips curl. He expresses disgust as they speak about Lauren's recovered body. So we could say that he feels somewhat disgusted that they found the body. He blinks excessively, and his body responds with paralysis for a few seconds. His brain shuts down as a survival response. He also spaces his lips, and this is to create a space to have more oxygen. His self-control is very high, so we interpret this as a habitable behavior for him, and he's been doing to not lose that autonomy.
Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. She was as nice a person as there is.
Was she moving soon? Did you know anything about her?
Yeah. She was going to be moving out today. Why would anyone do this?
Up until this point, we can say for sure that he is hysterical, unstable, sentimental, and distracted. His attention is out of place. That's why he reacts abnormally during the conversation with the reporter.
All right. I just gotta ask you a few more questions. You came down earlier tonight, me and you talked, all right. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
That's just you are. What's wrong? You know I'm Detective Patterson, right?
Yes.
Do you remember, put your hands up here, you remember us talking earlier tonight, right?
Yes.
You remember me earlier in the day?
Yes.
When we came down here and talked a little bit and then we left?
Yes.
Okay. I need to know about this girl right here. You know her?
Yes.
Who is that?
Lauren Giddings.
Does she live next door to you?
Yes.
When's the last time you seen her?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Was you friends with Lauren?
Yes.
Look at me when you talk to me, son. Okay?
The detective here sensed his intention on not being cooperative, and he embraced a full-on approach by forcing him to make eye contact.
Was you friends with her?
Yes.
Close friends?
We were good.
I mean, y'all were friends, right? Both of
Yes.
y'all are law students. You're studying to be an attorney, right?
Yes.
What kind of law do you want to go into? Criminal law?
Yes.
Civil? Is that what you want to do for a living?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the creepiest thing that could happen in an investigation. Instead of displaying remorse or anything, Stephen looks the detective in the eye sharply, chin up, which shows dominance, and answers the questions of the detective with either a yes or a no, as you just saw for yourself. The detective changes his strategy, saying as he sits down,
Look, just tell me what happened, brother.
I don't know.
Well, where's she at? I'm asking you for your help. I'm a detective, and I'm asking you for your help. Can you help me?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You can't help a friend out?
I don't know what you need.
I need to know where Lauren's at.
I don't know.
Do you even care that no one can find her?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, do you?
Yes.
The detective here is making himself seem vulnerable to get Stephen to trust him. See how his shoulders are down and hands on the table, with his neck slightly tilted down? His posture is saying, I'm vulnerable. The eye contact exchange between the two is almost hilarious at this point.
What's up with the pair of underwear that was in your apartment? That
I
was
don't
like
know.
a mask. It was cut out like a mask. You cut underwear out to look like a mask?
No.
Are you a knife collector or a knife person, or
No.
you just like knives?
I used to collect swords.
I mean, do you know your swords?
Yes.
I mean, to sell and trade swords?
No.
You may think that this portion is irrelevant, but what matters here is that the detective is trying to get Stephen to confirm facts that he already knows to establish a baseline of his communication method, behavior, and body language. Stephen keeps looking at him directly in the eyes, and the detective himself needs a personal distance that he creates by stretching himself backwards in the chair. This is not the usual behavior of a detective.
Is that how Lauren looked with the long hair the last time you seen her?
Yes.
Or that's how she looks?
Yes.
I mean, earlier today, me and you sit here and talk normal. What's going on with you now? Why are you acting like this? I need to know. Why all of a sudden you're acting like this?
I don't understand.
Okay. Earlier today, we sat here and talked. But now you're acting like you don't know what's going on. I mean, did something happen or something to you? I mean, why are you shutting down? Why are you not talking to me?
I don't know.
You don't know? Are you scared?
No.
I mean, you're not scared, are you?
No.
The detective from this point on changes his strategy of befriending him. He embraces an aggressive one.
You got your ass on that fucking news and stood out there and gave a media report that her mother saw about her missing daughter. And you want me to sit there and tell him that you don't know? Is that what you want me to tell him? Because you're all over the news. You sure stood out there and ran your mouth to the news media. But now you're going to get out here and you don't f***ing know. You know. You're just a sorry piece of shit that don't give a f***. Right?
No.
Well, why'd you tell the media everything? Do you need to see what you told the media today?
Yes.
It was on the 11 o'clock news. Well, I'm asking you. Tell me. I want to know.
I don't know where she is.
That ain't what you told the media. You didn't stand in front of that camera and say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I need you to tell me what you want me to tell her mother. And then I won't ask you another thing. I'm not going to tell her mother that you don't know, because her mother saw you on the news tonight. And she cried all the way down to Macon. Because you had the balls to get on the news and tell everybody everything. So this little act that you're doing right now ain't working with me. Okay? So you can just snap out of it and tell me what the hell happened so we can move on.
I don't know.
Well, how many times you gonna say I don't know? How many times you gonna say it? If you did something that you regret, you need to let me know.
I didn't.
Well, who did?
I don't know.
Something we didn't note in the prior investigations, as they were not as obvious as the power of eye contact. Long story short, eye contact equals power. Simply by observing eye contact, you can understand the hierarchical relationship between two people. For example, an intern would struggle to look a CEO straight in the eyes. This hierarchy is commonly a concept of organizational behavior and is dependent on power. Power can be things like knowledge and experience and so forth. And that's why, when a criminal has the guts to look a detective straight in the eye, the chain of power is broken. Because we're used to a killer avoiding eye contact or shutting down, neglecting questions. But Steven adds a brand new layer to all we know about criminals. This situation changes, and he is overpowered as soon as the second detective enters.
What's up, buddy? Did you talk to him about his guns?
Yeah.
When was the last time you shot those guns?
I haven't.
You've never shot a gun?
No.
Have you ever shot any gun in your whole life?
No.
Never.
No.
So you bought 3 guns that you've never shot?
Yes.
Why?
To have.
For what?
To have.
For what? I'm asking for what? Why do you want to have them? What makes, did they give you, I mean, tell me why it's important to you to have 3 guns. That's an easy question. Come on, talk to me, buddy. Me and you talked all day today. We ain't had a problem communicating. Why is it important for you to have 3 guns? Do you not know?
No.
You say you don't know where Lauren is, right?
Right.
You told me earlier you and Lauren were friends, right?
Yes.
How would you describe y'all's relationship?
She was my friend.
She was your friend. What, did you ever do things for her? Did she ever do things for you? What did she ever do for you?
We talked.
We talked, what y'all talk about?
News.
The news? Okay. How many times have you been in her apartment with her hanging out?
I don't know.
You don't know?
The detective wraps his arms around and sighs, caressing his own face. This is self-pacifying behavior.
If you had to guess, what was just, I mean, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times what?
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2? See, if I had only been somewhere twice, I could remember that. If I had been there over 50 times and you asked me how many times I've been, like, I don't know, a lot. But the fact that you've only been there twice, when I say how many times you've been there, you say you don't know, that's just odd to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
That does make sense. So what I'm saying right now makes sense.
No.
Lauren's missing.
Detective changes his voice tone and strives to reckon empathy in Stephen.
This pretty little girl right here, your neighbor, she's missing.
The detective also closes the physical distance between him, locks eye contact with Stephen to again gain empathy and awaken remorse in Stephen so that he confesses. This is a psychological technique to break the barricade he's putting them through by being unresponsive.
Me and you both know it's no different than when you was a little kid, right? And you reached in that cookie jar and you got caught after your mama told you not to get that cookie. And when she was, did you get a cookie? No. And whenever you tell a lie, you feel bad about it right then. One, with every lie, there's a chance you're gonna get caught. And that weighs on you. Because you know you did something bad. Am I right?
I didn't do it.
You didn't take the cookie?
No.
You smell like you've been cleaning up, like you've been using cleaner to clean up. I know what that smells like. My wife smells like that all the time when she cleans the house. You've been using some kind of cleaner to clean up your apartment, hadn't you?
No.
Stephen, you telling me you live it like a man? How does your apartment get cleaned?
I cleaned it.
When was the last time you cleaned it, Stephen?
I don't remember.
Was it this week?
No.
You mean you go a whole week without cleaning?
Yes.
Why? That's horrible, Stephen. I don't know how else to say it, Stephen. Let me tell you what I think. I think that she was a friend of yours. Look at her right here. I think that she was a friend of yours. And I think something happened, Stephen. You used to watch her come in and out of her apartment, didn't you?
No.
Well, how y'all doing?
We're just talking. See that pretty girl right there?
Yes.
You telling me you looked at a pretty girl like that and you never once thought, ever, man, she looks good. You never thought that?
I don't understand.
What do you mean you don't understand? You know how when you're sitting there you see a girl walking down the road and you say, man, that girl looks good. You ever see a good looking girl down the road and you think to yourself, man, that girl looks good?
Yes.
You never thought that about her?
Yes.
So you mean to tell me you look at porn on the internet and get off to that, but you never looked at her and said, man, I wonder what it'd be like to have sex with her?
Yes.
You have?
No.
Stephen, this is hard, buddy. I know this is hard. And I can tell it's on you. You want to let it go. There's blood in your apartment, Stephen. You didn't get it all up.
The other detective re-enters and leaves. Ouch. The detective here tries to pressure Steven, saying that they already have the evidence, but the fact is the incident didn't happen at his place, but Lauren's. Steven too now knows he's bluffing.
Steven, why is there blood in your bathroom? I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell it. I wanted to be here with you to go through that process because I know you're not a monster, man. I know you're not a bad guy. You're just a hard-working student trying to pass a bar exam, ain't you? You ain't got a lot of support from your family, do you?
Yes.
You do? A lot of people can't say that. And the fact that you do have support from your family should make things easier, because your family wants to feel like they've raised somebody that tells the truth and is honest, right?
Yes.
Did you hurt that girl, Steven?
No.
How do you exercise power on someone? Weakness. By finding out what weaknesses they have. That's why manipulation is such a horrible thing to do. However, the problem here is Steven does not display any signs of weakness, which makes penetration of his mind impossible, as if he thought of this scenario and millions more of it before, as if he tested all cases with thought experiments. And probably he did, and probably it wasn't the best part to Steven, committing the murder. Rather this.
I've hurt people, Steven. I've made mistakes in my life. It's not even normal to say you've never hurt anybody.
The detective begins opening up to Steven, saying, "I've hurt people," and look at his shoulders, as if he surrenders, as he submits power. The next detective attempts to preserve power by his weird position and sits down on the chair, or lies on it. The same technique is then repeated by the other detective as well. So much that the last resort of his is using physical violence.
Sometimes people get mad. They say things they don't mean to say. It hurts. You never kicked a dog or a cat? You know what's crazy? I was talking to people that he works with and everything. They talk about how he's always expresses himself.
But he don't know.
He's very talkative. Stephen, they say you're so talkative, buddy, that you're always so friendly. You stop in and say hello, and you talk. Why is it that you're acting so short with us tonight? If you have all this character and personality about you, why is it that everything that we get from you is yes, no, or I don't know?
I don't know.
Why are you acting like this, Stephen? You see how I'm able to talk in complete sentences? Like we're having a conversation? But the only thing you're bringing to the table is a yes, no, or I don't know. Stephen, did you hurt that girl?
No.
Would you tell me if you did?
Yes.
Have you lied to me at all in this interview?
No.
Yes, you have, Stephen. When was the last time you did laundry?
A few weeks ago.
You ain't washed clothes in a few weeks?
Yeah.
Why?
I have a lot of clothes.
No, you don't. That's another lie. You don't have a lot of clothes.
Yes, I do.
Nope. You got enough underwear to last you 3 weeks?
Yes.
Do you wear the same pair of underwear more than one day?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's still clean enough to wear.
Where's that little girl, Stephen?
I don't know.
Stephen, you know. You're going to look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're going to say you don't know? I know you know.
I don't know.
Yes, you know. What are you going to say tomorrow when I say we got your hair? What are you going to say to me then?
And as if this is not enough already, the only explanation to this is he knows body language. Look at his feet. They're not tied to each other or anything. How does he stay lifelessly neutral and with an open body language? Okay, well, let's remember what we're doing here before we go numb trying to interpret his not so meaningful answers. What is an interrogation about? What is the objective? Extracting a confession from the suspect, which includes the answer to how and why questions. How did the suspect commit the crime, and what was the reason for it? However, as we've discussed prior to this and in other videos, it is about establishing dominance, and there are different ways to do this. One of the most powerful ones is occupying the suspect's personal space, which both of the detectives do. It's about establishing control over the suspect, establishing power on top of them with indications such as, "I already know you did it. I have the evidence," which tends to leave the suspect defenseless.
See this stuff right here, your hair? Yeah, it fell out of your head when you was moving the body, Stephen. That's right. You remember moving the body?
No.
Yes, you do, Stephen. Why, man? Why? Tell me, bud.
I didn't do it.
Yes, you did, Stephen. We want you to tell it so that way people understand you're not a monster. Things just, you got out of control. It's a sickness. Why'd you do it, Stephen?
I didn't do it.
Stephen, why are you going to keep telling that? You hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, Stephen. You hurt her, man. She was screaming. Screaming, Stephen. Why? And I know you feel bad about it. I can see it in your face. What came over you, man? What happened, Stephen?
I don't know.
I know you don't know. You couldn't control it, could you?
I didn't do it.
Stephen!
Okay, now look closely at the whole interrelationship between the two detectives and Stephen. If anything, Stephen is neutral enough to scare the crap out of the detectives, so much that as if he himself breaks the detectives by being neutral. This is a means of establishing control of the detectives by Stephen. The techniques they use, neither of them work on Stephen, and he's getting satisfaction out of it. Because it's not about how calm Stephen is, it's about the fact that he does not respond.
Did y'all have sex?
No.
Did you try to have sex?
No.
You think about having sex?
No.
Liar. What kind of man doesn't think about having sex? You said earlier you like girls, right?
Yes.
You said she's a pretty girl, right?
Yes.
What'd you do to her, Stephen?
I didn't do anything.
You're lying. You hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
Sure it did, and that's why you're having this massive meltdown right now.
From the next point on, and probably as a last resort, the detectives move to humiliating Stephen instead of befriending him with empathy.
I know earlier today you told me you stayed home all weekend, right? In your apartment.
Yes.
Did anybody see you? Did you talk to anybody over the weekend? Were you on your computer all weekend? Is there anything I can look at that I can say he couldn't be involved because he was on the computer, or he was online on a site, or...
It's important to note that Stephen was first found suspicious because his search history included the following: how to molest a sleeping girl.
He was online doing college work or anything that would exclude you as being involved altogether. I mean, did anybody see you this weekend at the house? Did you go out to get a newspaper? Did you wave to a neighbor, or you just locked yourself in all week?
Yes.
Nobody saw you?
No.
I mean, what do you just stay in the house all day?
Yes.
I mean, what do you do all day in the house? I mean, you've always done that your whole life? You don't have no friends?
I have
How can you go your whole life without a friend?
I have friends.
Where they at? I mean, it's all over anyways. I just want to know what was going on tonight. The game's over. I mean, we know what you did to her, so we just want to know if you were going to tell us or not.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's what you say. But we know different, so you're f***ed either way. You're f***ed. We already know. We know you killed her. We know you put her body in the trash can. The news media knows it. Glenda knows it, your mother. Your sister knows it. Your sister's husband knows it. The one that used to beat your sister. He knows it. You know what he said? He said he's a crazy motherfucker is what he said when I called him. That's your own family calling you crazy.
See how mechanical everything he does is? Like a robot, no emotion or anything. It's uncovered that all this lifelessness is an act. However, still the best case is we have a neurotic psychopath. This was a very clever strategy of Stephen, unresponsiveness. By staying unresponsive throughout the entire interrogation, the detectives couldn't manage to get as much as a single sentence about the crime from him. But thanks to the foolproof evidence against him, Stephen McDaniel is now behind bars for the murder of Lauren Giddings. Stephen was found guilty and convicted of murder of Lauren Giddings in 2014, 3 years after the incident had already happened. In 2018, Stephen's father tried to start a campaign, Justice for Stephen McDaniel, on GoFundMe, after he already confessed. Supposedly, Stephen was away from his family for the past 7 years, is in jail since he was arrested in 2011, but confessed to the murder of Lauren Giddings in 2014, and was deprived the privilege of seeing and being a part of his brother and sister's lives, adding, "All monetary support will be used for his benefit and will be greatly appreciated by both Stephen and his family." Mark McDaniel couldn't even raise a cent before the post was taken down. Yes, GoFundMe took the post down. Way to be, GoFundMe.